Hello, everybody. This is Mark, and welcome to Module 2, African Religions and Voodoo. This is part of the first two units, which is basic religions. So these are traditional religions or pre-literate societies, oral traditions. And so with this module, we're studying Voodoo. So Voodoo is a blanket term for a large number of religious traditions that originate in Africa. Africa is often left off of the equation, left off of the table when discussions of religion occurs. But there is a major religion that comes from Africa, a major world religion that comes from Africa, and it's called Voodoo. So for this module, there's a number of readings and viewings you need to do. There's an African vocabulary sheet and handout. There's two readings. One is a PDF, African and Syncretic Religions, and the second one is a Google Doc. So give yourself time to do the reading and absorb the information there. Some of the characteristics of African religions, which outsiders are often not comfortable with or aware of. The first of this characteristic is syncretism. Syncretism is the dynamic combining or interaction of different traditions. So when African religion leaves Africa and comes to the New World, that would be what's also known as the Western Hemisphere or the Americas. And the reason it left Africa is through the slave trade. So 400 years of slavery introduced African culture, African technology, and African religion to the people, both European and indigenous, of the Americas. And in the process of these different cultures combining, we get syncretism. So syncretism is the melding of different religious traditions. All religions to a certain extent do that. More than 80% of Americans have heard of, and more than half believe in karma or reincarnation. That's a different religion than most European ancestors had, right? So this is syncretism. So the first thing to be aware of with African religions is syncretism. So this means that different types of voodoo have different ways of combining indigenous or Roman Catholic or European with African traditions. The second primary feature of African religions is ecstatic trance. African religions practice what's called spirit possession. So this is a type of consciousness that comes from using what I call spiritual technologies such as dance, fasting. Most religions have some form of ecstatic experience. So it could be being possessed by the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues. In the last module, you saw the young woman dancing for 14 hours straight. These are ways, so rhythm is an important way of inducing ecstatic experience or altered states of consciousness. Even practices such as prayer and meditation alter your consciousness, maybe not as dramatically as someone who is experiencing being possessed by a spirit, but it is a technology for altering consciousness. So I think it's important to be aware that religion has its own technology, and part of the purpose of this technology is to sort of change our awareness, make us open to religious experience. The third factor that is typical of Voodoo and African religions is the practice of sacrifice. This includes animal sacrifice. Outsiders often find this very disturbing. The videos that are this part of your assignment for this module does show some animal sacrifice going on. But it's important to keep in mind from your last vocabulary sheet that sacrifice means to make sacred. It is any type of offering. So when you light a candle, you're making a sacrifice. If you leave an offering at a shrine, you're making a sacrifice. If you take time out of your day to pray, that in some ways is a type of sacrifice. So, so animal sacrifice, it's good to think of it as part of a continuum of making offerings, of giving something up to establish a relationship, to correct an imbalance, to show gratitude. Those are the three reasons that we make sacrifice, the three reasons that we make prayer. So these are three factors that we'll be discovering and discussing in African religions. In addition to the readings, there are three short videos. These are actually part of a longer National Geographic video, which is like a 45-minute, television episode. If you have access to that, it's much more interesting to watch the whole thing. But if you don't have access to it, through the beauty of YouTube, you can watch three short clips out of that longer episode. The clips are called Birth of Voodoo, Haitian Voodoo, and New World Voodoo. So these will give you some graphics and some insight into what the experience of voodoo is like. These three short films, part of the larger film, are part of the assignment. So our first written assignment for the term is the voodoo assignment. So you'll need to watch these clips, answer questions, and post them. So that will be the first written assignment. In addition to the written assignment, there is a discussion, as always. There is a quiz on African religions, and there is a test. And the test will cover Native American and African religions and the basic religions handout. So make sure you review what happens in the first learning module and the readings from the first learning module, as well as the readings and discussion from the second learning module before you take the test. As usual, everything will be due Monday at 11:59 p.m. So I know that there's been a few little issues with Brightspace, and I know it's a little bit extra work for all of us right now, but I think everybody's doing pretty well. I know that I spent some extra time just, trying to find where the steering wheel is and making sure that the emergency brake isn't on when I try and back this thing up. But we're all getting there, and things seem to be working well, and I appreciate you all showing up, and I really appreciate when you send me an email and ask me a question. And you can also send me a text. So remember to do that as well. And I look forward to seeing you around.